Hello and happy Friday, everyone. I am Ryan Block, the host of the Open Heart Collective, and my special guest today is none other than the only Lila Smith. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If you're a regular, thank you, thank you. The joys of live broadcasts, everybody. You tend to just mess up your wording sometimes. Anyways, this is a live show where we talk about mental health because we're not having these conversations often enough and we're not being loud enough when we're having them. So that being said, we're going to go through a couple things, but I want Lila to introduce herself first, and then she's doing a bunch of filters over there, I think.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Anyways, yeah. And so Lila, say hello to everybody.
Hi.
Totally messing with filters.
Every time I start using Instagram Live, it's because of Ryan Block. So I don't know how to get the filters to go away. So
I think if you cycle through them enough.
Really? Now, how do you somebody write a comment about how to make this stop?
I'll be back currently running. Thanks, Gino.
Okay,
we'll be
thanks,
here
Gino.
for an hour, so you're good. Okay, so the mission of this show, being that we're live, we're having these raw, real looks into mental health through people and the stories that they have. Not sure, but it's hilarious.
I think I just leave and then come back.
No, if you go, oh, you did leave.
And I come back again. Hold on.
Slide through them. And,
Slide through. Yeah, there wasn't one.
Okay. Yeah, all you had to do is slide, hit the button again and go all the way to the left.
Where's IT on this? Thank you, Beth Ann. Oh, okay.
Oh,
we're here. We're here to share an hour of the Open Heart Collective.
Oh, there you are.
You hear me?
Yeah, I got you. All right. Okay. So being that we're taking a look at mental health, right? We can't just talk about the struggle. We have to also talk about what's exciting. So we're going to cover three things during this conversation. Lila's story, what are the struggles she's had to overcome and how she's overcame them, and last but certainly not least, what in the hell is exciting in her world? Because any true mental health story wouldn't be complete or up to this point in time complete if we didn't also know what was going on that was exciting. So that being said, with no further ado, Lila.
Hi.
Let's hear your story.
Okay. Well, I guess, what do I start at the very beginning? A very good place to start. When you
the best place to start.
Begin with ABC. When you sing, you begin with Do, Re, Mi. When you podcast, you begin with me. I just made that up for the first time. Well, me and the sound of music. So I guess I'll talk to you about where I am now for a minute. Traveling all around the world as a speaker, talking about intentional communication, because I developed a method of intentional communication called Say Things Better, and it's based on my work in theater. I was an actress professionally for 10 years or more than that, and an actress unprofessionally for my entire life. I came out dancing, as they said, feet first, ready to just let's go, and shot out into the world and became a performer. And about 3 years ago, retired from doing that because the lifestyle of being a professional actor wasn't fitting with my values, and it wasn't making me feel totally creatively fulfilled. Now I know that that's because I'm meant to be doing what I'm doing now. Right. So I went from this place of feeling like I'm creative all the time, and I'm joyful, and I love the people that I'm doing this stuff with. So why, if I'm successful in a career that some people try their whole lives to be successful in and don't make the kind of traction that I'd gotten, and it's what I've always wanted, why am I not happy, right? And so there was that one time that happened, and I had to stop performing. And then I was working in e-commerce, and I had also been in marketing and all kinds of customer-facing brand communication for years also. So an actress, and then also this civilian career. And so I had both of those pieces. And when I stopped acting, more of my creativity showed up in my corporate job. And I loved that because it made me feel happier where I hadn't been happy before, but I still wasn't totally clicked in, totally fitting where I was. And I was now missing my community. This is about 3 years ago when I stopped acting. There was sort of a tapering off of my everyday engagement in this community of actors in New York and really around the country, because I think there's a lot of collision that creates those communities, right? You
Right.
aren't necessarily going to be friends with everybody, but there is something to the running into people at auditions and being in the same shows with them and working in the same theater companies with them, that it's like family. Bless you. So you're around the people that you're around and you become friends with them enough to feel that you're at least all in it together.
Right.
And when I wasn't in the theater, I wasn't feeling that inclusion and I wasn't feeling that connection. So I had my work, and I had this place where acting had been. I, had gotten married at the time. I felt like I'll just put my soul into that. And that wasn't working. So there were all of these places where I was trying to find meaning and trying to find this connection for myself. And it wasn't working out for whatever reason.
Right.
It wasn't giving me what I needed. So I felt like something was wrong with me, right? I had this great love. I had a great guy who loved me a lot. I had a job where I was doing well and making money. I had been successful in performing and making a difference and telling stories that matter, and that wasn't fulfilling me. So if I have all these things that look right on paper, why am I feeling so isolated and so dark and so just separated and so unfulfilled? And I would talk to a couple people, and I got various reactions. People, when you reach out about something that is undefined and maybe doesn't make sense to other people, where they say, oh, but look at what you have. Oh, but count your blessings. Oh, but just be grateful. Like, listen, I'm all for gratitude, but don't use gratitude as a tool to not be happy. Don't use gratitude as an excuse to not find fulfillment. Use gratitude as a baseline, and from there, you'll understand what your resources are. You'll understand how rich you are. But if you are rich enough to go and find fulfillment, that's where gratitude serves you. And it doesn't serve you if you're using it to explain away the pain until it just becomes this thing that's part of your normal. And I had done that for so long. I mean, I was in, it was 9 years in a relationship that I was waiting for things to fulfill me, and I was waiting for things to feel right in the New York performance world. I was waiting for things to feel right in e-commerce. And I was coming up on a pretty big birthday. July 1st, 2017 was a big birthday for me. And so June 1st, 2017, I said, I'm going to do something different for the rest of this month, for this whole month. Every single day, I'm going to do something different. And I'm going to start with gratitude every day. So, and I've done this every single day since June 1st, 2017. I put my hand on my heart like this before I even say anything. I don't even have my eyes open yet. I just feel my heartbeat and give thanks to God that I'm alive and that I can feel that I'm rooted in my body, and I feel my heart and I connect with my soul. And I start to just, hum and warm up my voice enough to just say gratitudes out loud. So this morning, I think I said things like, I'm grateful that I can hear my voice. I'm grateful that I can feel my body. I'm grateful that I can feel. I'm grateful for my senses. And it's kind of this stream of consciousness gratitude. And it does focus me for the day on what I have. So, when things could throw me off course, hi, Lori Knudsen, that there are things that could throw me off course. But then I remember, hey, at least I can hear, I can hear these nasty words that someone I love is saying to me in, this confrontation about what I do and how it's affecting them in their life. So that's a conversation that that you and I had, Ryan, but I could share with the listeners and viewers too. So, I had gone from this life in e-commerce that had come after my life in acting. and I was feeling unfulfilled. I had my gratitude mornings. The same day, June 1st, 2017, I started going onto LinkedIn. And I thought, I'll find professional satisfaction in some way if I surround myself with other people, hey, Khatija, who are a little bit more happy in their careers. And I'll find out, are there leadership tricks and tools that I should be implementing with my group at work that I'm managing? I was directing a department of e-commerce. And I thought that there could be at least something that I could learn from the people on LinkedIn, reading articles, whatever it was. But I made it like homework, right? I said, I will, before I'm allowed to go on Facebook, which, those of you who are watching from Facebook, I love you, but I haven't been here much because I've gone over to the other blue and white icon on my phone. Now I'm on LinkedIn almost all the time, and I don't go on Facebook that much. But at the time, it was like homework. I said I could go onto Facebook, that I'd be allowed to, after I had spent my requisite 15 minutes of time on LinkedIn every day. So what happened was I went onto LinkedIn, I started commenting on things. My friend Jamie had married this man, Ito, who's a basketball coach, and Ito Singer had been posting articles and stuff that was really cool from his field that got me curious about how we could take these lessons from other industries and apply them across to whatever we were doing. That he was a basketball coach, and I have really no experience with that, but I did really appreciate what he was writing.
You need to tell me you're not a basketball coach.
I'm not a basketball coach anymore. I was never a basketball coach. I was a bouncer. Like, I did have other careers. I was a celebrity bra fit specialist. I worked, selling very high-end sex toys out of a very high-end lingerie store. I sold a $15,000 gold vibrator once to a couple who was going on a boat for 6 months. So, I've had other careers, but basketball coach is not one of them. But I learned a lot. You didn't know what you were getting. And I was about. It's a true story.
Hey, I was too.
You were what?
I was a bouncer too.
You were? You and I, we look so tough, right? Like, right. That looks like a Russian dance move. Like,
bad angle.
Yes, I believe you're tough. So I had gone on LinkedIn. I had gotten inspired, and what I saw was that people were commenting on other people's posts and articles that they had not actually worked with before, that they were networking with people who they were just meeting for the first time through LinkedIn. And it looked kind of familiar. It looked like community. It looked like people who cared about each other and wanted to know and support each other in their professional journeys, but also in their personal exploration of their work. And that was something that I kind of had needed because I felt so unaligned. So I hung out for a while, and every day I went onto LinkedIn and I would explore some ideas, and slowly it went from 15 minutes a day to 20 to 25 hours a week that I was spending on LinkedIn, diving into this community that felt so good, and it felt like I was at home and that they really appreciated me and wanted to hear what I had to say. And I thought, well, what else can I do here, right? Maybe I can go onto the job boards on LinkedIn and check job descriptions and see if any of them for my job title included something I wasn't doing. Maybe I was feeling unfulfilled because I wasn't doing a good enough job. So that was an idea I had, and I went through it and I was like, no, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. And yes, I'm making money and we're successful, but it just is not feeling right. But I stayed and I started finding value and finding positivity and finding my alignment in giving people guidance and trying to help other people and saying, well, here are some lessons that I've learned, and here's my management style, and here are things that work with my team. And developing others that way did feel really good, and it felt good in a way that nothing else really was. So I spent more and more and more time in there and sort of dove into that. And it was giving me this new kind of joy. And I spoke with Kristen Sherry, who's a career coach. And I spoke with her last year she did a Gallup Strengths Finder profiling and analysis of my assessment, and she told me that my top 5 strengths were communication, woo, which is winning over others, positivity, developer, and strategic. So with all of this, she's like, you should be doing these, networking events where you also get to develop these clients. And I see you speaking, and using your personality to win over others, to do these events. And let me just throw this out there. What if you, because you communicate so well, you always have a way of putting things, you always say things better, which is so funny because people said that to me a lot. Like, can you just help me put this into words? You always just say things better. And then hearing her say it, I was like, okay. So it ended up being the name of my method, the name of my company, Say Things Better, because other people were saying that to me a lot, that I know how to say things better. And the reason I know how to say things better is because I come from this theater community. I come from this background that's inclusive and accepting. And I come from a place of deep knowledge and training. We learned tools to communicate. We learned tools to access our reality. And I hadn't been using mine. So when I asked myself, okay, why do I have these tools? Why do I know how to use them? And why am I not using them? Why, if I know how to access my reality, am I not doing that just because I don't have a character's fiction to communicate through? I still have these. I can still use these. And I don't feel aligned. Let me get into place. Let me look at what I know how to do. Let me do a dramaturgical analysis of my life. Let me see where I'm going, where I have been. What are other people saying about me? If this were a script and I was a character, I would know how to get insight. So approach myself objectively. And I started doing this. And Kristen had said, what if, because you say things better, why don't you start to do communication coaching and consulting, training other people how to say things better. And I was like, that's cute, Kristen, but I need a job, like at the time. Cut to, 6 months later, I started my own company and fully launched the method as a standalone thing that I can talk about. So I do travel around the world now. I am feeling good about it. There was also a move to Dallas. I'm seeing Rachel West Palumbo, who's one of my best friends, and she and I were co-hosts of the LinkedIn Local New York City. We're the first co-hosts of those events in New York. And so she knows me and she knows this story. She's been through it, and I'm so honored that she's here watching right now. Just wanted to say hi to Rachel. As if it were a script.
I have to say hi to my guy Carter, who just showed up. Carter and I were working together earlier this year until he left me to go to college and all that fun stuff. But good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well.
Congratulations, Carter. Hi, Rachel. Hi, other people watching. I can't see everybody watching right now, but I just caught sight of her. And so let me look at my life as though it were a script. And actors have systems and tools for this. We're trained in this. It doesn't just magically show up that you look at something that is fake, right? A set of lines that you have to memorize. And you go and you watch that in a theater or in a movie, and you sit in a seat and you watch that happening, and you feel like it's real. You feel like you have a window into somebody's life. Like if it were a house, there's like the back wall, the side walls, and then the fourth wall, that's the one in front of you, is the one that was removed. So that fourth wall is it's a term in theater that means that piece of the room that you get to see through as the audience, and that the actors have to communicate through what the reality is to the people who are watching. So you go up on stage, you have this script, and you use these tools that have been created for actors to take parts of our lives that resonate with some kind of feeling or some kind of situation that's analogous. Like this is to this character's life as this part of my journey was to me in my life. So it's a lot of exploration. And if I'm the main character and I'm doing a dramaturgical analysis of myself, I'm looking at what do other people say about this character. So other people were telling me I communicate well and that I help them. Other people tell me I have really good ideas for, hi Clarence, I have other people say you have really good ideas for marketing. what are other people saying about me? You are a talented performer. You belong up on stage. You belong in front of a room. So thinking about things that my employees were saying about me. You're a great manager. You're the best communicator. If you look back through my old recommendations on LinkedIn, before I have the ones for speaking as, a communications expert, before I have the ones about what I did as a communication consultant, you'll find something from Vanessa, for example. And Vanessa wrote this recommendation for me about how I'm the best communicator as a boss. And that meant so much to me. And so just like that kind of stuff, paying attention to it. And then looking at, thank you, Rachel. She says, I belong in front and center of a camera, which I am here only because Ryan has asked me to be. So I am still like video weird, but I do like the stage. I do like presentations. I do like public speaking. So that's part of what I do now. And the more that I looked with these tools to see who I was and what I was supposed to be, the more I felt comfortable being that person and expressing that person on LinkedIn with this community that I had developed, manifested into this whole new career, and also a deeper look at the tools that I had to see how else they were applicable. So it was this journey, and there was pain in that, right? Because the more you discover about yourself, and the more you
discover about yourself.
Yeah, the more you discover about yourself, the more you discover about yourself. Exactly. It's so simple, but that's it. You can see then, oh, this totally doesn't work. This no longer serves me. This that I've been holding on to for so long is actually holding me back. I've been like hugging this anchor and telling this anchor that, it's my heart and soul. And the anchor is like, yeah, that's cool, but I'm an anchor. So I'm only going to be able to give you this comforting weight.
Right.
I didn't need the comforting weight anymore. I needed wings. So I had to make some changes. With changes comes discomfort, depression, isolation, people who don't understand, people who have to realign their own frame of reference for what and who you are, right? So this had happened before when I stopped acting. I hate anchors too. And I had this conversation. Oh, I like that one. Well, we all have different kinds of anchors. I want the ones that I control. I want the ones that say, here I am. Like, so now I'm in Dallas. And one of the reasons that I came here is that I had this community in New York that I had a hard time accessing when I needed people to just physically be near me and put a hand on me and say, like, you're here. We are here for you. We want you around. And if you want to hang out tomorrow, I'm down. It's hard to make plans with people in New York. It's hard to get people around you who are doing similar things, because in New York, a lot of people have jobs. There are not a lot of entrepreneurs. So when I had left the company that I was at and I started my own business, I was working a lot, full time as of June 1st. Ironically, 1 year after the date that I started being on LinkedIn full time, I started being on LinkedIn. And then 1 year later, started my own business on June 1st, 2018. So, but in doing that, I felt like, where do I go if I just want to like have coffee? Like I went to Rachel and Joey's house, where they are and got to spend some time with them, but I couldn't like be there all the time. And I needed to also be around people who were doing similar things, who wanted to start their own businesses or who were innovating. I wanted to serve people in the startup community. So I had to go where I had access to that. And that to me felt like Dallas. I had visited a few times. I had done speaking engagements in this area, and I made friends and relationships with people who made me feel like I just had to be here. So there was this one night, I had moved out of the apartment that I had previously shared with the man that I had been married to, and I was leaving behind a lot of these, the question was, what's my story? So we're going into a long explanation of
it's all going to tie in here.
You'll see, just hang in there. Yeah, so I had to, so you have to also. And hi, Mike Morgan. Mike Morgan's a part of my story too, because he's supportive of me in every iteration of my life, as is Rachel. And And so are you, that you've come to also see me at different points in my journey. Okay, cool. Thank you for staying with me. So here I was, like, leaving this apartment. I had all of this stuff that I was getting rid of, because, again, the more you discover about yourself, the more you discover what doesn't serve you, and you got to let that stuff go. So I was letting this stuff go, getting rid of bags and bags of garbage and recycling and stuff I was donating, and just making room in my life. And I still ended up with, like, a moving truck, coming and taking stuff away and moving it over to my mother's house in Brooklyn, which, she's in Pittsburgh, but the house is still there. And when she comes back for visiting back from Pittsburgh, then she stays there. But in the meantime, I was going to be there. I was going to be in this house. I felt blessed that I had a place to go. I was like, again, on paper, this all looks great. I'm going to save money. I've started my business. I'm going to, have the run of the house. I'm going to bake lasagna all the time, and I'm going to have this whole kitchen. So it looked great. It was like, this is a great option. I got rid of stuff, and I felt so empowered. And then the moving men left, and I saw, the boxes that I did have, and the suitcases, and I opened a suitcase, and I took out a dress, and I opened a box, and I took out a hanger, and I was like, this is it. I'm going to unpack. I'm going to just keep going. I'm on a roll. And I put the dress on the hanger, and I went to the closet in my childhood bedroom, and I opened the door, and I went to go and hang up the dress, and I just felt this crushing weight of dread and loneliness and isolation. And I felt like the weight of every misaligned decision had fallen on my chest, and I couldn't breathe. And moving through this moment, I felt like, who can I call now? I'm here in New York, where I'm born and raised. My friend Leanne, who I've been best friends with since I was 5, would come, but she has a baby. She at the time had a 1-year-old and a husband, and this was like 11:30 at night, and I didn't want to call. Rachel lived like a significant distance from me, or where that house was, and she probably would have come too, but also she has a family. And like the people that I felt I could call, I didn't feel I could call. And I picked up the phone, and I was like, I don't know, I have to call somebody, because I've never felt like this before. I've felt kind of unhappy, and I've been able to make some decisions to move through that. But right now, I'm feeling a way that I've never felt before. I'm feeling something really unfamiliar and dark and disconnected. And I'm feeling like, in order to survive right now, I need to go somewhere that feels different. I need to go somewhere that somebody can really, like, put a hand on my shoulder and say, I'm here, and I know exactly what you're going through, and I've got you. And so I picked up the phone, and I called my friend Stephanie, and I said, remember last time I visited, and I said maybe I would move here like in September, after my very busy schedule in August, maybe I would move to Dallas in September. And she's like, yeah, of course, you still on track for that? Like, is there anything I can do? And I was like, well, how about tomorrow? And she didn't blink an eye. She didn't skip a beat. She said, you got the key. Come on over. The bed is made. There was a bedroom for me. There was a bathroom for me. The bed was like made. She'd given me a key the last time I was in town and had stayed with her. She said, come. And so I checked my airline miles, and I saw that I had enough to get a first class ticket one way to Dallas. First class, because then I could take 2 check bags for free and not have to pay for them. Yeah. And so I moved after having gone through all of this stuff and really paring down to the very littlest amount of stuff that I felt like I could move out of this apartment with and into this house. I then moved into 2 check bags and a carry-on. And that's the stuff that I took with me to Dallas. And coming here, being with this group of people, I met all of them on LinkedIn. I've met all of them since June 1st, 2017. And 2017. And like, I've made these friendships that have led to the kind of connections that have led me into, friendships like ours. And right. The kind of people that I'm attracting into my life right now are doing things that are bold and ballsy and creative and innovative. And there are these things that I'm learning now for the first time too. So I'm learning new tools, and I'm learning how to apply things in different ways. And I'm working with businesses as a communication consultant and individual entrepreneurs and startups from all over the world and across all different kinds of industries, because communication isn't everything. So I ended up learning about all different kinds of businesses and cultures. I have a client in Saudi Arabia. Yes, we're friends now. And I have all of these people who are in my community now who are cheering me on. And so it kind of feels like a happy ending, although there are, of course, like days that feel like I'm questioning everything. Am I really going to make it? Is there really any value in what I do?
Those days will never stop, by the way.
Right. But that's okay, because, I do feel like at the end of the day, I have my own answer. And as long as I can get people to pay me for what I'm doing, like enough to survive, I'm going to still do this. I'm going to still travel the world, and I'm going to still empower a world full of intentional communicators using the acting tools that I use to find insight into my own self, my own soul, and to be able to express myself to the people who would pick up the message that I had dropped and would hold it close as though it were precious to them. That those are the people that I needed to attract. And by putting myself out, by intentionally communicating, I attracted those people and those opportunities to my life. So here we are now. And now we're all caught up, I guess.
Wow. Okay. That was quite the story.
Yeah.
But a lot of it all ties into the mission of this show, right? Because the mission of the show is, through living our stories and effectively telling our stories, we have the ability to help others navigate through theirs. So you kind of hit all three of your talking points, just kind of in there. You got the story, plus what were the obstacles with the broken relationship, and then feeling like you were alone and feeling unfulfilled, and had to kind of start over, and knowing that starting over or simply becoming an entrepreneur is incredibly isolating. It's dark. I mean, it's not an easy life. I mean, I've been where Lila is, and in some instances still am.
And it continues to be. It's not like you said, those days aren't over, but because I feel so aligned now with everything that I'm doing, I really just feel like it's worth it. It's easy enough, right, to kind of dismiss the haters, especially coming from a life in theater where you learn to not really judge your own value by what the critics say, but by how well the audience understood your story. And you try not to pay attention to those external voices or people who are naysayers or negative Nancys or whatever, trolls. So it's easy enough to dismiss those people as unuseful. But what I've really come across that has been challenging for me personally, and we talked about this the other day, I have people in my family who had just recovered from, oh, she's not an actress anymore? How do we talk to her at dinner? For holiday dinners, like, what do we ask her? So usually they'd be like, so are you in any show? Are you in any shows? So are you in any? So how are you doing? How's the weather in New York? The conversation that used to excite them when they knew how to relate to me in my old life, they had just gotten used to saying, like, so how's the e-commerce business? And how's managing people? And like, they had just come up with this whole new set of questions, and then they had to adjust again. And it was easier said than done for some of them, because when you don't even understand what a communication consultant is, and you're like, is that a real job? And you see things like, let's say, so like, my dad, for example, he's in New York, and it was really hard for him that I left. And it was hard for me to leave too, and to leave him there, and to know that there would be distance. But he felt sad not having me there. He had felt, that when I had gotten married, that like by now He would be a grandfather sitting at the head of the table of the whole family, vision. And he wanted that, and I had wanted to give it to him. So I felt like a total failure, for not being the good daughter who gave him everything that he thought that he would have from me.
Let's spend time on that for a second, because failed expectations.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one when we were talking around the mental health game, right? Because oftentimes those expectations that we quote unquote fail are not the expectations that person actually puts on us. Those are the expectations that we perceive that person's putting on us.
I mean, he was pretty clear about it.
Fair enough.
No one in my family really pulls a lot of punches when we feel something. So for better or for worse, but it's true. And it's not that their expectations of us are something that we have to fulfill or else we are a failure. Sometimes their expectations are not fair. Sometimes their expectations are about us providing some kind of a value to their life that isn't actually aligned with the value that we want for ours. And our first responsibility is to be a happy and healthy person so that we can contribute to those relationships in a meaningful way. So by being aligned, by being in my purpose and following my dreams and traveling around the world and helping others to articulate and then follow their own, that's how I am my happiest, healthiest self. So I'm sorry, but this is the daughter that you get. I'm sorry that I don't have children right now. I'm sorry that that there are uncertainties around things like, what will my marital status be tomorrow or yesterday or next year? That certainty that I had given my family was no longer theirs to own. I have a new certainty, and it's mine. So the certainty I have now is that where I am and what I'm doing is 1,000% what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm so sure of that when we did have this argument the other day, it was a few weeks ago, about the fact that I left. I didn't leave, I went to. I didn't leave, New York. I didn't leave my family. I traveled to a place of support. I traveled to a place of everyday community. I traveled to entrepreneurial opportunity and clients and a base of people in the startup community that I could immediately start helping. And I traveled to a place that just clicked. And I didn't travel away from, a marriage. I traveled to being certain of the things that I needed in order to be happy, and being certain of the things that I needed to be fulfilled. So that was the certainty that I owned. And it's uncomfortable for other people to adjust their expectations, but it is really important. Looks like there's a comment from Rachel I just want to read. She says, "Do not apologize for being you. Say instead, thank you for supporting me in what I am passionate about." And I do want to say thank you to everyone who is supporting me. And in his own way, my dad is too. And in fact, he's coming around. He is making those adjustments, learning how to have those conversations with me about what I'm doing now so that he can understand, so that he can get behind me, because he was always so supportive. He was always my number one fan. The man gave me everything that I needed to be successful in a career that a lot of other people's parents don't support. Not everybody's parents are like, "Hey, yeah, absolutely, go be an actress. I'll pay your rent for a year." Not everybody has that kind of support from their family, and I did. So he is that guy. He just didn't think that he was going to have to do that kind of thing now, that he was going to have to support something he didn't understand. At least he understood, because I was always this kind of person when I wanted to be in theater. So that he got, this he didn't. And also that I left. But I needed to do what I needed to do. And when he was challenging me on my family values, things like, what can your family values be if you can possibly have the option to stay near your father and leave? And man, it just broke my heart, because I do feel very rooted in my family values, but I'm a part of my family too.
Right.
And taking care of me was important. And so I had to be really sure of that.
That's absolutely important. So around the subject of mental health, self-care and self-love is so critical.
Mhm.
Because if you're not right here and you're not right here, a lot of things are broken. And having people to talk to, or simply people that you can call up and say, hey, I'm struggling, I need you to listen to me. And those people will actively listen, because the stem of any mental health issue is anxiety, right? So you get anxious and you don't want to say it, but you have to. But then you have other people who are going to be telling you what you should do, and oftentimes that's the exact opposite of what you need, and you just need somebody that's going to have an open heart and willing to listen.
Do you know Jake Melton?
I know him vicariously. I haven't directly spoken with him.
You've got to talk to him.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He's my minimalization coach, and he's helped me a lot with things like making decisions and clearing mental clutter and physical clutter and business clutter, streamlining my processes. But as part of that, being able to identify clearly what's a yes and what's a no, using those tools and applying them to my whole life has given me such insight to be able to say, okay, this information that I'm getting from this person in my family in this moment that's making me feel this way, I don't want to feel this way, so let's just get rid of that for now, and let's look at the content. Is any of this actually correct or relevant or going to serve me in my mission? Because I'm clear on what that is. So if the answer is no, then just leave it, right? And I was able to then clear that really quickly while that argument was happening and find my peace and say, I'm clear on what's a yes for me. I'm going to let you have your feeling about what's a no. It used to be that I would say, this person is feeling this pain, and I would feel that anxiety about it and feel that it was my responsibility, that I owned, that I had to take care of them, that I had to then take that pain away from them and put it on me. I felt I had to own their pain. And if I could fix it, why shouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't that be my responsibility? But as an entrepreneur, your first responsibility is to the reason you started to begin with. And that's what I had to do. It became really clear.
I mean, that's it, guys. You got to get clear with what it is for you. Because what it was for Lila and what it was for me is not going to be what it's going to be for you. And understanding that and truly believing that and definitively stop comparing yourself to other people is the best thing that you can do to clear that clutter, right? Because I mean, I look over to that side, and it's because I've got Vaynerchuk's books over there, right? I've not read more than a page of each of them. I don't know why I have them. Because
maybe just to keep
for a
yourself
long
in
time
place.
I was comparing myself. Not necessarily in aptitude or capability or deliverable or anything along those lines, but because he had what I wanted, right? Everybody wants to have that life when you have people following you around all the time, creating content and you're talking on stages in front of thousands of people. Yeah, that's a goal. But for me, it's this, right? It's what we're doing right now. It's having impactful one-on-one conversations that just happen to be broadcast out. And hopefully that one person who's listening to this that's been struggling with trying to figure out that balance, trying to figure out that's struggling with something that is getting resonated from what Lila went through, and you're able to take it, the information, the conversation, and deploy it to your own life and make your own life better, or to make you at least feel like you're not alone, because you're not. That's why I do this, because I mean, being a dad, I have kids. I don't want them to grow up with the same struggles that I grew up with, right? Like Lila, you've heard this story. I mean, it was part of the 2-hour-long epic Instagram live a couple months ago. But like, I've been there with a blade to my wrist. I know what it's like to feel so completely alone and like it's not supposed to exist anymore. And I know how much that hurts, and I don't want anybody else to feel that. I want to be able to create that safe place for people if they're hurting to be able to go and talk. Because that's the biggest issue. Mental health and everything else is a problem. But this mental health issue is the largest, I'm going to say, pandemic in the world. Because we're not talking about it. We're not creating places for people who are feeling broken, are feeling hurt, unsafe, whatever, to go and talk.
Amen.
So let's create that. That's the exact message behind this show. If you're hurting, if you're broken, I don't call, reach out. Like literally, guys, this is how easy it is to get a hold of me amidst my madness of a life, right? Instagram page. So those of you guys who are following on Instagram, literally my phone number is in the profile. You can hit the call button. That rings that phone right there. Not some gatekeeper, not some other way to enter, get a hold of me, not some spam phone number, like my personal cell phone. Point being, guys, you're not alone. If you're hurting, reach out. There are people like Lila and myself who are here for you. Amidst our massively insane schedule. I don't get paid to do this, guys. Like, this is because I see a problem in the world and I wanted to fix it. But I can't do this on my own. That's why I have these guests, amazing human beings on this show. And I'm blessed that this is now the 34th episode of this show since March. Together. I mean, on our own, our voices are pretty loud, especially Lila and mine, so we can get pretty loud. But together, as a community, as a collective of people trying to focus on a common good and breaking the stigma around the world, we can change the world. Because no politician, no amount of legislation in the world can fix this. It's on us. So if we say it's a problem, we got to bring the solution. So here's how we're going to start to bring the solution. Obviously, the show's going to continue. It's going to be an amazing third season. I'm so excited. But this isn't all of it. One of the things that we're going to do, and I'm going to ask Lila to help with this. I'm going to ask all of you to help with this because together, this is how we fix it. I want to know every single possible resource for anything and everything relating around mental health. From anywhere and everywhere in the world. Because what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all of that information, all of those resources, all of those tools. I'm going to put it together in one place. Right? Because if anxiety is the stem of all things mental health related, and you go to Google and you're typing in depression and you hit 80 million search queries, of course, if you're anxious, you're not going to make a decision because 80 million options is too many. Cool. So what I figured it out. We're going to build an app. And we're going to get this on every single phone in every single country. Because all you're going to do is literally fill in the blank. I'm going to call it I'm struggling with.
I love it. I'm struggling with. It's so clear.
Black and white screen, nothing fancy. You type in what you're struggling with, and because of obviously geolocation, right, we're going to know where you are. And based on where you are and what you're struggling with, we're going to get you resources within a certain minutes distance away from you. Because
that would have been helpful. Yeah.
If we can have, we have it, right? Like there are some amazing organizations, like we're doing some incredible work with American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and a few other organizations. But there are so many. How do we know? Right? Going to Google is going to sucks. It's an anxiety disorder nightmare.
I know, and there are so many options of responses for people or companies who just have bid on AdWords, right? And so like they are the highest result, but they're not necessarily the most relevant to you.
Right. Like I'm just outside of Chicago, Illinois, so some geographics proximity for you guys. I typed in "I'm struggling with depression" into my Google search window, right? I was bored one night wanting to test my thesis. And the number one search query or search response was an Australian forum chat for people struggling with depression.
Did you go to it?
Oh, I totally went to it.
Was it helpful?
I mean, I wasn't in that moment struggling, but it's not a localized resource.
Right.
It's all about localizing the resources. We have a myriad of them. Let's make it work. Anyways,
you don't want to have to use like Google search tools and refine and like put in all that stuff. You just want it to be easy because it's already hard enough when you're disconnected from the possibility that things could get better. You want as few barriers to help as you can possibly get. Right. So this is like, now I'm in my e-commerce brain and I'm like thinking about the barriers to conversion is really what I'm talking about. But when you are at a pain point, you want the fastest way to get that solution. So if it's, I have a hole in my jeans, the fastest way to get jeans is to go to the Gap app, reorder the thing I had before and have it sent to the address that's saved. Anything beyond that is going to be more difficult for me and I probably won't do it. So if I'm struggling with something like depression and I want a resource now, that could be the difference between life and death. Those additional barriers to getting that help, whether it's something that's not anonymous might be a barrier, something that doesn't feel safe, something that takes too long, something that is in Australia might make me feel, oh, is that really the closest help? Even without questioning it or putting in, I'm struggling with depression, Chicago, which you could have, gone back and done.
Right. Or
You're
I could
also
have
not
typed in
necessarily
depression
thinking
commentary,
through, like whatever. You're not thinking through those things when you're in a moment of deep pain and depression and despair. You're not like, let me optimize my search terms right now, right? Yeah.
Right. When a blade is to your wrist, or there's a pill bottle next in your hand, you're not thinking, okay, how do I have to refine my, like you said, refine my search engine? Like, fuck that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we as the collective need to be better. Right? I'm tired of seeing people that I look up to on a great level lose because there's no safe place for them to go and talk. Anthony Bourdain was like fucking inspiration to me. Mac Miller, Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, Robin Williams, the list goes on and on. But not just those. The 39 people in my home county from January to the end of August. And the hundreds of thousands more around the world who are literally every single day life and death struggle because they don't have the resources, because they don't have the knowledge, because nobody's teaching them, because nobody's fucking talking about it.
Well, we're talking about a lot of other things, right? About like how to treat the symptoms of like the society touching, like things that immediately touch people in society who don't have these issues. Like we're talking about gun control as though it's the issue. And I'm not saying that there aren't reasons to have that conversation, but there are people struggling who are not being helped, who are getting to the point where they feel that their option is pick up a gun and shoot up a school. That we're seeing people in California or a synagogue, in Pittsburgh and Squirrel Hill, where my family is. We knew everyone that died. And so people are talking about it like, let's talk about the guns. And I'm like, let's talk about the guy. Let's talk about that person. People are going to take out that desperation either out towards others or inwards towards themselves. So whether you explode or implode, there still is destruction. And that destruction comes at the end of a long line of opportunities that we could have had to help someone. Because most of the time, you're not just born and then immediately you snap. There are opportunities that we have as a society to take care of the people that we have more effectively. And especially the guys. I mean, you look at who are the ones picking up guns and shooting up schools or killing themselves. Yeah. So there are resources that we need to be giving these men, I mean, and really to everybody, right? But think about what we're talking about. Are we talking about like what the gun laws are, or are we talking about the fact that there are all of these women in this country, all of these girls who have access under the same laws to the same guns, and they're not killing people? So right. What is the issue, right?
The issue is always the people, right?
It's always the people.
Because everything in this world is attainable, is easy until you put people into it, right?
Business so let's take care of the people.
Right. Business is easy because at the end of the day, business is delivering value and receiving value, right? That's it. Right. We as the human populace make it fucked up, make it confusing.
Well, we determine what's valuable and who needs to know it. And, you know, thank goodness, because then people like me have jobs helping people communicate their value to whatever their customers are. But it is about communication. It is about opening our hearts and joining together as a collective to say, here we are to connect with each other. Here we are to support each other. If you want us, we're here. If you need us, we're here. We've got you. You've created a beautiful community here. I love seeing all the people who've come through on the Instagram Live, who watch you on the Facebook Live, and it's, you know, and on your podcast, you have people listening who you don't even know are listening, who are hearing your message right now, and you communicating intentionally to support those people. It reaches them even when the metrics don't show it, even when like the likes and comments and shares aren't showing it, because somebody is hearing it, right? Even if it's only you and me in this conversation right now. And it was like in the middle of the night a few weeks ago or months ago or whenever it was, we did have a conversation on Instagram Live when we talked about all kinds of stuff, and we were just there for each other, having met for the first time in that window. Right. So even if it was just that,
unfortunately, we're going to lose you in 39 seconds. So Instagram.
Let's say goodbye to everyone. Let's say goodnight.
Thank you. For you guys who are wondering, this podcast episode will be available right after this on Facebook. So to go to my profile, check out the Facebook. It'll also be available in audio and video on YouTube. The audio will be on the podcast, and YouTube will have the video. That'll go up Sunday night. So thank you guys for your support. For now, I have to say bye, Instagram. But thanks, guys. All right. So Facebook and everybody else who hears this, sees this, listens to this after the fact. This mission is on all of us. This isn't mine. This is literally on all of us. And I need everybody's help. I truly mean that, because I said this earlier this week when I was talking to Ashley. This is my therapy. This is how I balance out my highs and my lows, because I know that everybody has their own ways they cope. Everybody has their own ways that they feel and they move and they go through these dark, depressing, oftentimes scary times. And this is how I not only get the chance or the opportunity to help, but it helps me put everything into my life into perspective as well. So I want to say thank you guys for that. Thank you, Lila, for that.
Thank you.
Because I know it's not always easy coming out here, and we're having these conversations that can sometimes be dark, sometimes be really, really dark. Sometimes I have people who share things on this that they've not talked about publicly anywhere before.
Yeah, I haven't talked about this stuff publicly anywhere before. I haven't even talked to all my friends about the stuff that I talked about tonight.
That's why this is a safe place. And this is why I'm going to continue to make this a safe place. Every week.
You do beautiful work with the community you create here. You really make an impact. You really, really do. You keep a lot of people's wrists closed.
That means a lot. Anyways, guys, as I mentioned a few seconds ago, this is going to be available right after here in Facebook. and then YouTube on Sunday, and the audio everywhere audio podcasts go on Sunday night. I didn't get a chance to say this in the Instagram version, but I want to say it here. So if you guys are wanting to continue to support this, through the audio version of the podcast, through the Anchor platform, they have opened up a support the creator function. Now, I'm not saying it because I don't need the money, right? Like, that's not why I do this show. But if we can not only raise awareness and funds for organizations, I want to do that. So all monies that come in through that portal on Anchor will go to mental health organizations around the world, because that's where it needs to go. Over time, I'm going to build a team around this show so things can get a little bit more streamlined. We can do it a little bit more effectively. Maybe the audio, the video can get a little bit better sonically and visually. Maybe the branding will change around a little bit. A website will get built eventually. But right now, it's about having these conversations, and it's about these conversations getting out to the world. So whether it's Lila and I's conversation tonight, or any of the other previous 33 episodes that you find closeness with, I ask that you please share it with somebody who's struggling. Even if you just say, hey, this guy's live every Tuesday and Friday. I'm going to be taking off a couple weeks around the holidays in December. But other than that, I've got pretty much all of this season scheduled out. So I'm so excited and truly honored that I'm able to do this, and that I'm blessed to be able to speak with amazing people like Lila and Ashley from this week's episodes.
Do you want to make an open heart? So
what's that?
If you make an open heart and I make an open heart, and we put our open hearts together.
Oh, I gotta go this way. There. Oh,
yeah.
Oh. It's all backwards here, but yeah.
It's all backwards. You make a heart and I make a heart, and our hearts come together.
Yeah. Anyways,
you make
guys,
a C. Make a C.
Yeah. It's all backwards in the case. Anyways.
All right. Here.
I want to end on this little mantra, because I've been ending nearly every single video that I've ever put out in the last 9-10 months with this. And I'm going to put on a t-shirt and inevitably just donate all the proceeds, because why not? And it is as follows. Be happy, number 1. Number 2 is have fun. Number 3 is hustle your ass off, because everything in life takes work, right? But, and this is very important, I hope you hear this, there is no amount of hustle on this planet that can bring you happiness or fun. So you have to have those two first. And it's important too, along the journey, that you take time to breathe. One of the things that I've started doing, or been doing lately, as breathe is my favorite word, I tend to say it as many times throughout the day as I possibly can, even if it's just to myself in my head, because doing so forces me to breathe. It's kind of a cool little thing. Anyways, Lila, my friend, thank you.
Thank you.
Next week, we will be back. 2 new episodes. I'm really excited, actually. I have to look at my calendar. Next week, 2 more amazing, incredible human beings. One is, first up on Tuesday of next week, will be Shauna, the co-founder, or the founder of Haste and Hustle. I'm really excited to have her on. And then next up is somebody I've looked up to for a long time, kind of from afar, but woman who's gone through hell and back. Her name is Grace Presley. I look forward to sharing both of those episodes next week. In the meantime, take time to breathe, guys. We'll see you soon.